UFC Mexico has a couple of rematches on deck, and we're going to get straight to it, folks. We got Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval, Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega. You got some fixtures and a lot of lighter weight classes here up at high elevation, so you know it's going to be a banger of a card. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G, and welcoming me again, my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native himself, AJ. Brother, rematches, we talk about it. Sometimes it's a matter of when something is a little too inconclusive, you need resolution. However, aside from Ortega and Yair Rodriguez, I guess both, there was injuries, it was still conclusive. There was finishes. Do we need the ultimate answer? Are you in search? Have you been craving these matchups? Or is this just going to be a fun card in Mexico?
Oh, absolutely. I've been craving these rematches, Derick. A lot of those are posted right on my notes because this is going to be a very exciting fight, having multiple people run it back. And like you said, there's rematches in the house, but also La Raza is coming to represent. I'm very excited for this week's fight card.
That's right. I mean, this is UFC Mexico. This is the real deal. I was at the Noche UFC last year for Mexican Independence Day, and if it's anything like that, like I would love to participate in one of these, see it live in the flesh, the whole nine. But that's not what we're here for, folks. We're here for wagers. We're here for money lines, parlays, and props, and that's what we're going to provide to you. But before we do that, remember the context here. As you can see down below, there's a split screen for a reason. AJ's got his picks. I got my picks. Currently, I'm up on the leaderboard, but we're doing this all the way until December. Now, let's not forget, what are we fighting for? Take a look behind us, folks. I got 2 shiny belts. My man AJ has 1. He's either going to tie me this year or we're looking for triple D. I was saying it all last year. It didn't come to fruition, but listen, we're on the horizon. That's neither here nor there, folks. Before the ask, let's jump straight into the TLDR, AJ. We got some picks, and you know that's what the people want to see. So, I love the big screen every time. We're going to bring it up, baby. These are the UFC Mexico bet sheet picks that we have right here. Ultimately, you're going to see a lot of overlap because we got a ton of Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. Those are the good ones right there. And then we got some contentious picks right here. So, folks, this is your opportunity. Grab your screenshot. We got a lot of heavy favorites, a lot of chalk on the board right here. But, AJ, this is where we need to talk about the consensus picks. My man, Brandon Moreno, Yair Rodriguez, Daniel Zellhuber, Yasmin Jauregui, Manuel Torres. AJ, what is the theme for our UFC Mexico consensus picks?
I said it a little bit before, Derick, but I'm going with it again. La Raza is going to be representing. I know there, man. A lot of these people, they're going to be excited to have that brown skin blood back in there, and I think it goes well. Also, a little bit of momentum, but I like La Raza a little bit better.
That's right. I mean, listen, you're going to do it. This is home court, home game, home territory. You better get it done, and it's at elevation. So if they've been training in the area, you got the inherent advantage. Now, we don't just finish at the money line and at the consensus picks. We got a little bit more for you, and we're on a little bit of a run right now. Not a major run, but we are on a win streak. We're coming off of some good ones. So let's talk about the prop blocks here. I like Yasmin Jauregui, Sam Hughes over 2.5 rounds, minus 200. Here's my reasoning, folks. This is a women's MMA match. Not a lot of finishes in between the stylistic matchup right here. Yasmin Jauregui is a different story. You know, she kind of does her own thing. She, if you look at it, has a lot of finishes, but Sam Hughes is going to be a tough outing. Now, AJ, you got a finisher himself, right? Daniel Zellhuber, and then you got Francisco Prado. You got in the distance, minus 130, brother. That's chalk. Why do we like it?
I love it, Derick, because both of these fighters are going to be looking to put up a show. Like you said, Zellhuber's a finisher. Prado has crazy power. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm expecting this one to end early.
All right, so you got on my end a distance, on AJ's end in the distance, so a lot of stuff to love, and why not go ahead and throw it together in a parlay? That's not what we got listed for you, but we do got you covered on our parlay watch for UFC Mexico. So, folks, this is how you need to look at these parlays that we got going for you. These are not your traditional main card plays that we already accompany for you. Instead, we took a look through the card and we found 2 parlays we really enjoy. These are the odds that we were able to cash them in out combined, not individual. So, let's go ahead and see, just so I don't butcher the names here. Yeah, Mateus Mendoza and Heone Barcelos, money line plus 172. That's going to get you a little more juice than the second one that we have. Daniel Zellhuber and Fares Ziam, money line. Combine that together for plus 100. Take into consideration, a lot of these fighters, you're getting them at minus money individually. Combine them together for the plus money. We hit on the parlay last week. We're going to hit this week. AJ, listen, man, this is the new run. This is the new segment here at the Bloody Water Podcast, but you have to encourage the people who are watching, who we've been giving picks to for years at this point. Why should they tune into the parlays and to all the additional picks that we're finding, the additional value? Why is it?
Folks, I'm glad we're finally bringing this one out there because we've been making money hitting parlays for the last forever, how long we've been betting. And nonetheless, not telling you about them for the last 3 years. And I'm excited to bring them to you because this is where the money is made week in and week out. I mean, obviously the picks are there, the props are there, but when we get props going in, like Derick said, they started off at minus money, but now they're plus money, put in extra cash in your pocket. How can you not be happy with that, folks? That's why we're bringing it to you. You need to pay attention to these because these are fighters that have been tracking for a long time, going to put cash in that wallet.
That's why sleepers are important, prelim pourovers are important. All of that information and knowledge leads you directly to the parlay. So again, we're here for the value. We're not here to just go ahead and talk. We gave you the value. Now, let me not pull that one up. Now we have an ask. And before we get into the ask, AJ, we jump into the main card. So let's get it, baby.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
You guys know the drill. 6 fights on UFC Mexico's main card. We're starting at the main event, going all the way down to the opening bout. But of course, before we do that, now is the time. Subscribe, folks. Drop a like, comment, and tell a friend to tell a friend. This is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. We've been doing this thing for a long time, and we have over 815 subscribers. I believe it's 819 as the time of this recording. We want to get it to 900. No, we want to get it to 1,000, right? I want to get it to that next month. So why not go ahead, run it up. AJ, you know what the deal is. We're not missing any more words. Let's jump straight into it. So AJ, we got the main event. Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. Number 2, this is the rematch, and we got to immediately take a look. Moreno, rightfully so, minus 260 favorite, plus 210 comeback for Brandon Royval. I do have a question for you, though. And the question is, how much does common opponents, which these two have a lot of, right, and the most recent outings play into these numbers in terms of the odds? Because I was a little confused. Brandon Royval, though it wasn't super competitive, he had a competitive matchup against Alexandre Pantoja. It was a stylistic matchup that ended up faltering, right? Moreno went to a split decision versus Pantoja. Both of them lost. It's kind of surprising to see Royval open at a plus 210 underdog, though. Like, I thought this number would be a little tighter together. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I expected a little bit closer odds right here, Derick, especially because I do think common opponents and outcomes of those do go into the fight and how a lot of the tendencies will play out. And I definitely did not expect it to be this big of a bump. You know what I'm saying? Minus 260. Don't get me wrong. I do think Moreno is the favorite right here, but having Royval at a plus 210 comeback, man, that seems a little drastic to me.
And this is a winnable fight for Brandon Royval, but it all really depends on how much did he learn from the last outing against Alexandre Pantoja. And there's one big red flag that I see here. So if you're taking a look over just at the board, right, and you want to take a look at like the last 10, all that good stuff, right, you see a lot more finishes in the Royval camp. A lot of stuff is great setups, a lot of fantastic striking, but when you get to this upper echelon of the top 3 fighters in the division, you don't really land those anymore, right? You have to really gut these fights out. So if this is a 5-round fight, which it is, at elevation, which it is, the only problem that I see, man, is how much can Royval get going now without the fear of the takedown? He's letting the takedown happen so often. If you're looking at the takedown defense right now, 40% for Brandon Royval, 64% in return there for Brandon Moreno. So it makes me feel Brandon Moreno already had success grappling against Davison Figueiredo, who's a legit jiu-jitsu threat. For Brandon Royval, man, like how much of his offense can he get going without finding the same situation of, you gotta get up, you gotta get up. We don't want to hear that from the corner. What do you think?
Yeah, no, Dad, that was going to be my question to you. What difference can Royval really make in this fight except for trying to stay at distance, trying to maintain that range management? Because it seems like he falls into that trap consistently of chaos comes in, hands get thrown, feet get thrown, and the next thing you know, you're on your back getting controlled. We saw it a lot in the Pantoja fight, and that's where I think if Royval really wants to do anything different, man, he's going to need to keep the hands fast, knees up the middle, but be really good at the scrambles. I can almost guarantee that Moreno's going to get this fight to the ground. And if Royval has been working those scrambles, working the switches, the flips, everything he can do to get away and get up, then I think he'll have some success. Derick, how likely do you think he's going to be able to, hit the sweeps and all of that?
For Moreno or for Royval?
Royval.
I think it's going to be tough, man. I think Moreno has really good top control. And like I said, he had to fight a really big, strong opponent in Davison Figueiredo, and he was able to successfully keep him there for minutes at a time. You know what I mean? So that's how you drag out the rounds. That's how you win the rounds. And that's how Alexandre Pantoja dethroned him. He said it, not dethroned, but got the victory. But he even said it. He was like, listen, this dude is super tough. I had to do what I had to do to get the win. I don't see why Moreno doesn't mimic that. So that's when I take a look at some of these props and say, okay, well, let's take a look at the juice. And the real juice is 3.5 rounds is the over and under for this matchup right here. I don't see how that plus 160 decision is not juicy as hell in the side of Brandon Moreno right here. Now for Brandon Royval, I think you got to kind of lean towards a finish if you really want to like take advantage of that. But for Moreno, I think plus 160 decision. I mean, when's the last time this man has gotten like a legitimate finish that's like I starched this dude type finish? Not the Kai Kara France, he kicked him in the body and he just shut him down and all that stuff, but just sparked somebody. I think it's been a while, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's been a while. I was actually looking at it right now. Starching somebody, you can see the vast majority of Brandon Royval's finishes do come from the hands. They start, but then he slips in a submission after that. He finds his way to make it an easier finish. And I'm with you, Derick. I see that on the Moreno side, the plus 160 decision seems to be the best outcome. Yeah. But if you are looking for Royval, this is a winnable fight. That money line is juice all day long.
And that's what I was talking more about. When's the last time Brandon Moreno has sparked somebody, right? But it's still all applicable, right? The whole point is that all the finishes, right? So you got the Davison Figueiredo, the doctor stoppage. That's an accumulation of damage. Kai Kara France, he shut him down with the body kick. Awesome, right? In a back and forth fight. That was a close fight. Then you got the submission on Figueiredo, okay? And then you got the Brandon Royval injury. So here we are, you know what I mean? The point is, what my takeaway, folks, is if you're looking for juice here, plus 160 Brandon Moreno is super duper juicy. If you're looking for a Brandon Royval underdog pick, no need to even worry about any of these props. Just take the money line and run with it if you're that confident. But if there's something that I'm super confident that I want to string into parlays, it's over 3.5 rounds all day long. Like I'm stringing that into a bunch of my parlays because if you look at the over, minus 145, plus 115 for the under. This is flyweights. I know flyweight unders have been hitting recently. I just don't think it's going to happen here. Aside from that, do you have any other takes on the numbers for this matchup?
Yeah, Derick, I think the only hesitancy I have with the over, with the decision, and I honestly, completely honest with you, Derick, I do think that's the most likely outcome. Mexico City in elevation, it always does add a little wrinkle in the plan, but I do really like that Brandon Moreno plus 160 decision.
If I'm not mistaken, Brandon Royval fights out of Factory X Muay Thai in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, which ultimately means that he's already fighting at elevation. Now, is it Mexico City elevation? That's a different level, right? But it's elevation nonetheless. Don't think cardio will be too much of a factor. I think the takedowns are going to be the biggest factor in my opinion. So, Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick. We got Brandon Moreno. I'm taking the juice plus 160 with the decision prop. AJ, you lean in the same way?
All day, brother, plus 160.
That's your main event. UFC Mexico rematch. Brandon Moreno gets it done for the second time. Now, a little more of an intriguing one is one where there's mystique and mystery and intrigue just thoroughly behind it. And this is Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega, the rematch. Now, if you look at the first one, AJ, you might be a little surprised because, of course, Ortega has the jiu-jitsu chops. Yair Rodriguez, we know how dangerous he is. All El Pantera, the whole spinning, all that, right? This is what's important, though. If you looked at the aftermath of that fight, injury aside, one guy was a little more busted up than the other, and it wasn't the guy you'd expect. It was Yair, right? He got caught. I don't remember what he got caught with, but he had a nasty little mouse underneath his eye, cut up, all that. Ortega, we have not seen this man fight since, 2022 in that last fight against Yair where, he got hurt. So you've been out. He says that he's been revitalized, he's evolved. That's what they all say, right? But the reality is he has been the biggest question mark in this division because people say, how have you been a top 5 fighter and you haven't fought in 2 years? So first, before we jump into the numbers, are we getting an advantage at Yair Rodriguez with similar, look at this, minus 170 open, plus 140 comeback. If I'm looking at the real odds right now, live odds, minus 160 Yair Rodriguez. Are we hitting a smash spot Yair Rodriguez given Ortega is being estimated on 2022 Brian Ortega, not 2024, which we haven't seen? What do you think?
Instantly, Derick, I think smash spot for Yair Rodriguez on this one because there's so much uncertainty with what's going on in Brian Ortega's just training camp, career, life, however you want to phrase it. He gone 2 years. What happened in that 2 years? Has he become a new fighter? I doubt it. Has he polished up the striking a little bit, added a little bit more head movement or nuances in which he can surprise Yair Rodriguez in this one? Maybe. That could be a possibility, Derick, but if history has shown anything, a lot of fighters at this upper echelon don't really grow leaps and bounds because there's only so much you can accomplish. I don't really see him adding any extra into this fight that's going to, bring out something new. Although I do agree with you. I think it was a left hand, left hook that actually cut up Rodriguez in the last fight. But I mean, we've seen how well Rodriguez has or Yair has been able to advance forward in his own career in ways in which he's able to dominate the opponents and take the fight where he needs to go.
Absolutely. So, I mean, listen, there's still something on the table. When I say unknown, that doesn't mean we know how he's going to try. It's unknown. We don't know, right? But for Brian Ortega, when he comes back here, the number one question is going to be, how do you get the fight to the ground? Which he ultimately did in the first fight, which immediately led to his shoulder dislocating. So that wasn't good. But what does he have to do? Is he pulling guard to get Yair down? Is he saying, I'm going to let you open up on a crazy spinning attack, take your back, and then start working fundamentals with his jiu-jitsu? Because one thing that we have to take into account, we would be doing everybody a disservice if we didn't. Featherweight, 145 pounds, maybe that's the cutoff. Really, it's 170, but like they say, 170 and down, right? Once you start getting around that 35-year mark in terms of age, you're in big trouble. Now, Brian Ortega, he isn't 35, he's 33 years old, right? But you're getting up there. You've been inactive for a while. Everything screams to me, you need to lean Yair Rodriguez on, in my mind. The question is how? So, one, AJ, do you agree? Two, let's talk about the how.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you, Derick, especially because when you're taking a little time off, you're a little bit older. I mean, Brian Ortega, is about my age, just a little bit older. And I can tell you, when you get up in the morning, those bones aren't as greasy as you were when you were a kid. It takes a little bit. So hopefully Brian Ortega's been putting the work in. But now to the how, Derick. How does Ortega actually get this fight to where he needs to get it to control? And I do think it happens a little bit like the first fight. Control the middle of the ring, walk Yair down and let Yair expose himself in the chaos. Because we all know Yair, if it's not even the spinning stuff, it could just be a crazy combo he's throwing. And that's when Brian Ortega is able to push him up against the fence, shoot for a double, shoot for a single, whatever he needs to do. Or like you said, grab the back and just mount him. Either way, I think that's going to be the most likely outcome for Brian Ortega, or most likely path to a victory for Ortega. But is there any other nuance that can go on here? Like, could he stiff him with a jab? Could he just piece him up on the feet, low kicks? Like, there's so many things that I just don't know what Brian Ortega can pull out, that it makes it a real quandary, if you will, to actually figure out, Derick.
It's a conundrum, if you will, right? This is what I would say. When it comes down to Brian Ortega, one thing we've known about him, he's always had decent striking, solid striking. When I say decent, I'm just saying compared to Yair, it's two different stratospheres of striking, right? So a lot of work being done with the hands if you're Brian Ortega to set up a clinch to then start setting these opportunities. I look at Brian Ortega a lot similarly the way that I look to, man, why am I blanking on it? They just fought last week, had to get the fight. Hold on, I need to pull this up because this is gonna bug me. Mackenzie Dern. There we go. Why did I blank on that? That's such a high level person, right? Somebody who is super duper skilled, but doesn't quite have the offensive wrestling to get the fight where they need to. So what do they have to do? Just find out other creative ways. Get to the clinch, do all that good stuff. If he does that, might be able to overpower Yair. But then again, this is 3 rounds, a lot of grappling with unsuccessful actual takedowns is going to get you really tired. Haven't seen him in a while. I say all of this to say, if I like Yair, there's 2 props that I really enjoy here. Of course, one I'm leaning heavier towards than the other. That TKO is plus 170, and it's really juicy to think that he's just going to smoke him on the feet, get him out of there, and then MMA is not a forgiving sport. This is not a fairy tale situation. Normally, you don't see miraculous comebacks like Brian Ortega's. On the other hand, I say Ortega could take a shot, right? We saw it against Volkanovski. We've seen it a couple of times. Plus 250 decision for Yair. What do you think?
I like that, Derick. I was hoping that was the one you're going to say, because I think there's a lot of juice in there, especially because these boys, they're going to come out aggressive, but they're also going to come out a little bit cautious because they know how dangerous the other opponent is at their specific craft. I really like that plus 250 decision.
Do you think Yair comes out conservative? It all comes down to me, how does the first round look? If it's guns blazing in the first round, because one, you've already felt what the other person has, right? You already know. Yair probably is coming in with an extra level of confidence, being like, listen, injury or not, I know where this fight was going. Ortega's probably like, you have no idea where this fight was going, bro, so I'm going to show you a thing or two. But how aggressive do you think each fighter comes out in round 1? Because that determines whether we really jump on that decision play or if we're maybe leaning towards a finish.
I think they come out a little bit more conservative at the start, Derick. I know it's only a 3-round fight, and I know they have a lot of gas tank in there, but especially with the way the first fight went, I can see Brian Ortega being very cautious, not really putting himself in that situation. And as well as for Yair, just being able to fill it out and get the motion going, I do think they're going to pick it up right around the end of round 1, right into round 2.
All right, well, 2.5 rounds is the over and under. What do you like, over or under?
Ooh, I like the over, Derick. I like the over.
The over. If we like the over, then we're in agreement. We're in consensus here. Yair Rodriguez with the victory. So the final question, and then we'll move on. What's the play here? If you are advising the Bloody Water Podcast Army right here, and you said, okay, you could take Yair at -170 and just play it safe, -160 now live odds, or you could jump in that +250 decision. What's the juice?
Woo! If you want a safe play, the -160 is always there. It's more likely outcome, but I'm rocking that +250 all day long. I see this one going the distance for sure.
Fair play. All right, Yair Rodriguez, we say, gets it done 2-0 again. So the rematches, we think the winner gets them both. Let's move on to the next one. This is where the card gets interesting, AJ. This is where the big names go away and the research takes place. Daniel Zellhuber versus Francisco Prado. Welterweight matchup. -265. Big squeeze for Zellhuber. They like him. The odds makers think this dude is going to be a stud. I do too. +215 comeback for Prado. Now, this is a fight here, AJ, where I have to warn you. Off the bat, I wasn't convinced that Zellhuber was going to run away with this one. Not off the bat, right? Off the bat, I said, okay, how's this fight going to play out? Zellhuber, if we take a look at it, let's look at the last 10, right? He's doing some damage, right? Got that Christos Giagos fight, got the Anaconda choke, and I feel like this is a very similar matchup right here. Couple of decisions prior, and then he had a big string of finishes, ultimately. But is this not a battle of Zellhuber must maintain range? He has not a height advantage. Let me see. Actually, he has, a height advantage, and he has a little bit of a reach advantage. No, a lot of reach advantage. 77 inches to 69 inches. So this is a battle of stay at distance, teep kicks, long shots, straight shots down the pipe, keep on your bike. It's a big ring. It's Mexico. And if you're Prado, you have to get on the inside and you have to knock this dude out, right? Because one thing that Prado hasn't really done very successfully, and at least not in his last fight, stay on his feet. You got to stay on the feet if you're Prado. If you want to win this fight, stay on the feet, close the distance, and start swinging big. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you entirely, Derick. I like Zellhuber because he does stay long. He does, able to maintain that range, has nice straight kicks, punches, like you were saying. The only thing that worries me, we mentioned in the Christos Giagos fight, he can get touched. Zellhuber may be technical, but he leaves himself open at some points where he can get touched up. And we saw him have to rely on his durability in that Giagos fight. And that worries me a lot for this Prado fight because Prado has power. And what I like most about him, Derick, he has a real tight defense and nice head movement. And I can see him working that to get on the inside and do some serious damage to the body of Zellhuber.
He is by no means an afterthought. This dude is 12-1. There we go, right? It's 12-1 or 13-1, something like that. But the point is, this dude is good, right? And when you find him in these tight spots, he finds a way to get the job done. Now, I agree. I think Zellhuber is there to be touched, but the problem is that is a big reach discrepancy that we have right there. Again, 77 inches for Daniel Zellhuber, 69 inches for Francisco Prado. So I really think that if Zellhuber gets hurt bad enough, why not try to rely on some of that grappling? I'm not saying he's a fantastic offensive wrestler. His takedown accuracy is pretty bad, 33%, but he does have some good takedown defense, and that was really going to be the other part of the equation was, worst case scenario, Prado can't get on the inside. Does he shoot? And if he shoots, hasn't had a ton of success trying to shoot in the UFC at least. So what is the play if you're a Francisco Prado better? Or what's your confidence level? Confidence intervals, like we're back in school, right? What's the level that you have for Francisco Prado to go in and make an upset? Because I think he is one of the guys that we should keep an eye on. Not an afterthought whatsoever. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, not an afterthought whatsoever, Derick. And too bad I was bad at math because I don't really know the whole ratios you're talking about. But confidence level on a scale of 10, man, that Prado can pull this out and actually get this fight going. It's about a 4 or a 5, man. He has a chance. He's not an afterthought at all, but it all relies on can he get inside that danger zone? Can he close the distance enough to actually put himself there? Because then he has a couple options, right? Beat up the bread box, actually take him the fight down to the ground, or just cause some chaos and get in the clinch and then back, find a way in which Prado can get this done. There's many there. My big thing is like, where can he shine though? That's what I'm looking for. If Prado can find moments to shine in this fight, he's going to be looking good. And if you're taking him at plus 215 on just the money line alone, you're making cash. I really like, man, that plus 450 TKO for the Prado side. I can see this fight finishing early. Depends on who's going to get it done.
And that's kind of the point that I'm making right here, man. I often talk about price to pay, price of admission. And normally I would say for somebody who is unproven the way that Daniel Zellhuber is, I would say price of admission is a little bit too high, man. Minus 265. Let me look at the live odds right now. Live odds for Zellhuber, minus 275. We've gone up in price, right? Minus 275 plus 225 comeback for Prado. I say price of admission is way too high. I want no parts of this. But when I look at the intangibles, when I look at the stylistic matchup between these two, and when I look at the ability for Zellhuber if he needed to get the fight to the ground, I think that he can do it the way that Jamie Malarkey defeated Prado. I like the price to pay here for Daniel Zellhuber. Not something that I would go crazy. I'm not talking about 2-3 units, but I think you could drop a half a unit on this very confidently for Daniel Zellhuber at minus 275. And then for one of these props, AJ, is this one of them where it's just, hey, just bet on Zellhuber and call it a day? Or are you confident in any of the props that we're seeing here?
No, I'm thinking this is a money line. If you're betting on Zellhuber, just be confident in it. But I mean, if there's something I'm looking at, honestly, Derek, I think it's that plus 500 submission. We've seen him do some really good work on the hands and feet, and then he finds himself with those long, lanky limbs, being able to cure up a choke or a submission. That right there. How much juice do you see on that plus 500 submission?
I'm not confident. I'm really I think Prado is going to be a durable guy. I don't think that he's going to get finished in this fight unless it's some spark KO. And I think if a spark KO happens, I think it happens Prado knocking out Zellhuber. So put respect on Prado. Fantastic prospect right here. Think this dude's going to be around for a while. But we like Zellhuber. Consensus pick, money line. And we're tying that into the parlay. Don't forget, Bloody Water Podcast parlay, Daniel Zellhuber and Fares Ziam. All right, AJ, on to the next. Now we got a fun one here, AJ. I'm happy to talk about this one. Raul Rosas Jr., the young stud making all the waves in the UFC, gets a real eccentric dude who made a lot of hype for himself and kind of fell off the map. Pretty Ricky Turcios, right? So this is an interesting matchup because I was having a conversation with one of my buddies and we were talking about this, and I was just saying, if there's any upset play, if there's any live dog you like here, wouldn't it be Ricky Turcios? Doesn't he have every intangible to be able to counteract everything Rosas does? Fantastic jiu-jitsu, interesting striking, dog in him, very passionate, very spiritual, very eccentric. None of that really matters, but what does matter is this dude's got some experience, and he's a tenured veteran now, I guess just as much as Rosas is. But the point is he's had some losses, he's had some gritty wins, and I think he's had to dig harder than Rosas has so far. So my question to you, price of admission, AJ, minus 250. Raul Rosas. Dude's like 18 years old. You know what I mean? Let me pull up. What's the age? He is 19 years old. He is currently a minus 245 favorite, so it just dropped price heartily, right? Is that too high for you? Confidently. I'm not talking about what our picks are and stuff like that. Just you look at it, take his name away. Take 19-year-old prospect, fantastic submission artist, got a knockout in his last fight. Is minus 245 too high to pay for you?
Absolutely too high, Derek. Way too high to be paying for this. 9 fights in your pro career. I think it's 3 fights in the UFC. And honestly, we expected a bigger splash in Raul Rosas, man. He kind of let us a little bit fizzle a little bit, if you will. And I think Ricky Turcios is if there's ever an upset on this card, man, I'm banking on this. Well, I guess I'm not banking on this one because I'm going Rosas. Y'all saw the image earlier, but if you're looking for an upset, man, Ricky Turcios, the wild man, the dog, the dude that, like Derek said, can nullify everything Raul Rosas has in here. At plus 205, I see a lot of juice there. I think the price of admission for Raul Rosas Jr. is way too high.
Yeah, so that's why I decided to take a turn here, but I'm going to be honest with you. AJ, I still agree with your assessment. Though it is a price that's too high, just if you take his name off of it and you look at it as just a prospect, I think in this matchup, he has passed to victory right here. And it's a 3-round fight. One problem I have with Ricky Turcios, even though I love how eccentric he is, I love the skill set, he scrambles a lot. And in those scrambles, he finds himself in very bad positions. And oftentimes he works out of those positions and finds himself in advantageous positions. And that's where that end second half of round 2 on for the rest of the fight, that's the real fight, right? But can we get there? Does he get submitted in the first round? That is a big possibility, which is why you see submission prop plus 175 for Raul Rosas. Now, if you look, everybody knows though, right? It's just kind of like you're game planning against the D1 wrestler. You know they're going to shoot. You know Rosas is going to get in there and he's going to want to shoot. He's going to want to get this fight to the ground. I doubt he's going to take the same approach that he did with the Terrence Mitchell and say, all right, let's stand and bang. Because honestly, that was just two dudes being crazy, getting in the pocket, and he happened to catch him, right? Like, he happened to catch him. But my thought was, what if that fight went a little bit longer? Rosas kind of comes out swinging for the fences early. So if you're not able to connect, and we saw gas tank issues against Christian Rodriguez, that's where I started thinking Turcios. So if you're a Raul Rosas better, are you just hammering that submission prop, or do you like the decision plus 215? Like, is the decision prop is a way better price to pay than the money line, but you can't be confident given that this dude's a pretty prolific finisher. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you can't be confident, Derick. I actually really like the decision, and mainly for the fact that Ricky Turcios is an absolute dog and probably going to take this fight long. And going back to the fight you were talking about with the Terrence Mitchell, Rosas did get the KO. But like you said, if it went a little bit longer, that's where I think this fight is going to be taking place. And just past that first flurry, and that's where Ricky Turcios shines in the moments. But I do, to answer your question, Derick, I do like that plus 175 submission prop. I think that's more likely. This one's a very hard one for me, folks, because I want to bet on Turcios, and I can see why Derick did, but this one's going to be close.
Well, if there's a real bet to make, here's the real question I got for you. Over and under 2.5 rounds. What do you like? Over or under?
Over and under 2.5. Man, on a 3-round fight, I like the under.
All right. Plus 105 for the under, minus 125 for the over. So I'm going to rock with the over here. I like Ricky Turcios. Take what you will from this segment here, folks. But if there's something to think about, it's the live dog that Ricky Turcios is. Even if you bet on Rosas, I still say at plus 200, plus 205, you throw $10 on Ricky Turcios and you hedge. It's not going to hurt you. It's $10. If you ain't got $10 to bet, you probably shouldn't be betting in the first place. But that is your pick right there. All right. Now to the not opening bout, or is this the opening bout? Not the opening bout. We still got one more on top of that. Let's not forget. We have Yazmin Jauregui and Sam Hughes. So AJ, this is one of the intriguing ones because Jauregui is coming off of that hype train derailed, right? Denise Gomes came in and just like spoiled everybody's party. But she's got another opponent right here where I don't think people should be looking at this as a layup. I know Sam Hughes is a plus 350 underdog. I'm not saying that she is a live dog here. I'm just saying this should not be a layup. And Yazmin Jauregui, prolific finisher in her own right, at 115 pounds, if she can't get those flurries off, it's because Sam Hughes has clinched her up, put her against the cage, and tried to put her back on the ground. My question to you is, what's the mental state? Are you mentally in a right place after coming off of a knockout loss to break your undefeated streak to be considered a minus 475 favorite with a minus 135 decision prop here, AJ? I'm just saying, price of admission. We're going to keep coming back to this. Pretty high price to pay for Yazmin Jauregui. What do you think?
Even more massive than the last one, Derick. I was gonna counteract your statement first. Like, is she in the right place after a knockout? I think she just got caught. I mean, obviously it happens. You get touched up a little bit and then you get buzzsawed. It ends the fight early. It happens to the vast majority of people. It is what it is. But the little caveat you put at the end to actually go minus 475 with a minus 135 decision, I'm not that confident at all in that.
Yeah, and you're right. She did get caught. It was less of getting caught, more of Denise Gomes had an intensity coming out that Yazmin Jauregui just couldn't match, right? Sam Hughes isn't quite going to come out with that same intensity, but we do know if you look at Sam Hughes' last fight against Jacqueline Amorim, fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioner, and she was able to shut down the jiu-jitsu, it was just an impressive performance. Pieta Rodriguez lost the fight. Elise Reed, who is a fantastic, I don't remember if she's a Taekwondo specialist, but the point is she is one of the better strikers. She TKO'd her. Estela Nunez got the majority decision. She's not somebody to play with. She's not somebody to, again, overlook and just think easy victory. Let me just get back on the board. I think Yazmin Jauregui has her work cut out for her, and I don't know if she's going to be able to add another finish to the finish streak right here, which is why, yes, the minus 135 decision prop is intriguing, but we're picking because we have to pick, right? Like, in this head-to-head competition, we have to throw a pick here. But if this was not a competition and you were just advising somebody, do you stay away? Do you say, yeah, we like Jauregui enough that we're willing to pay that minus 475? Because you're going to get little value. You have to place too high of a bet to be comfortable to actually get a good return on Jauregui. So what do you think?
No, if I'm advising without us having to pick, Derek, I say stay away from this unless you're looking to throw just Hauregui in a excuse me, in a prop or in a parlay, excuse me. Or if you're just kind of feeling a little bit brave and you want to throw some cash on Sam Hughes at a plus 350 comeback, there's a chance. I don't think it's massive. So I'm not saying to go in and throw a whole bank at it, but I just think it's a little too high, man. I'd stay away from this one if you're just throwing some cash on the money line.
You want to know what's a lock right here, AJ? It's not none of this. You stay away and you say over 2.5 rounds, my prop lock for you guys. That's the lock. That's what I took out of this. I said price of admission way too high. Instead, I like the over. Don't think Jauregui is going to be able to finish Sam Hughes because I think Hughes is going to be a pretty tough outing, underestimated opponent. But then again, Jauregui also might try to come out with a little more aggressiveness since she didn't bring it in the last fight. So you never know, but I'm confident in my lock. We will find out on Monday as we do accountability hour as always. But with that being said, easy call, Yasmin Jauregui. That's the pick for Bloody Water Podcast. And then to open us up, AJ, Manuel El Loco Torres versus Chris Duncan, man. This is going to be a banger, and I'm really glad that they put this matchup together because I'll tell you what, all the hype is on Torres right now. Massive finish streak. Dude just knocked out Iron Nicholas Mota, a dude who's coming off of a nasty knockout in his own right. But Chris Duncan is nothing to play with, folks, and let me let you know that right now. You need to respect Chris Duncan because this dude is good. There's just one immediate issue that I see here, and I think that Torres is going to be – I think the speed advantage is going to be too much for Duncan in this one. Torres is long. He's lanky, very similar to the Daniel Zellhuber matchup that we were talking about. His best approach is to try to stick to the outside. Funny enough, in his last fight, he wasn't doing well at range. Once he stepped into the pocket, that's when he got the knockout against Nicholas Mota. Can Manuel Torres afford to sit in the pocket with Chris Duncan given the bombs that he's throwing back? Very similar to Nicholas Mota.
Ooh, can he afford it? I mean, if history proves anything, yes, Derek Manuel Torres can. But I don't think it's smart. What I do like about Torres, man, he has a very dangerous left hand and some left hooks, and I think that surprises a lot of people because he's able to switch stance, but he fights orthodox the vast majority of the time, and that left hook just fires out of nowhere and it cracks. But like you said, man, Duncan, excuse me, has a lot of power, has arguably more power, but very, very dangerous counter strikes. And that's what makes this fight so exciting because when they do clash, whenever they meet up and fisticuffs get thrown, be looking for those counters, be looking for the hooks out of the Torres side because it's going to be presenting itself.
One thing that I wanted to take a look at really quickly, man, is just because sometimes we don't do our research enough, not me and you, but like just people in general. When you look at a matchup, you don't do your research quite enough and you forget a couple of things. So let's not forget. Pulling up on the big screen, this is the Chris Duncan page right here. So, of course, you're going to take a look at the last couple. Fantastic victory in his last fight against the undefeated, Ashmaus. I actually bet on Ashmaus on this one, and I ate my words right here. But you got some lightweight bouts. Let's not forget that when you take a look before the Contender Series, we had a catch weight at 160. Before that, another catch weight at 160. Let me see, where is it at? Lightweight. The point is, there was a welterweight fight that I just saw on here where he had, oh, there we go. Yeah, right here. Welterweight. This dude has fought at 170 pounds. He's fought at these 160 catch weights right here. The entire reason that I'm bringing this up is because if you can compete in those weight classes, the length and the size might not be as big of an issue as you think. Chris Duncan is a thick, stacked fighter right there. Only problem, once again, is can he land, given that a lot of the stuff that he throws, I just think that it's not going to be quick enough to be able to catch Torres, and Torres is going to be able to come back with some blinding speed right here. So minus 120 for the open, which I respect that they gave Chris Duncan the respect. Currently, minus 185. He's swollen considerably, plus 155 comeback for Chris Duncan. All the hype, all the momentum is Torres. Do you see live dog status for Chris Duncan, or are we sticking with the Torres play?
No, I do see live dog status right here, Derek, especially because in order to make big waves in this one, they're both of these fighters are going to be hungry. They're both going to be looking to get the hands going. And if Manuel Torres takes any learning lessons from his last fight, he needs to put himself in the danger zone to be able to cause some more danger for himself. But that's where Duncan, has the serious advantage right here, man. His power is insane.
Only losses that Manuel Torres has suffered in his last 10 fights, both have been by leg submissions, right? So I think it was a heel hook and an E-bar. Chris Duncan is not really bringing that submission repertoire to the table. So the big thing you got to stay away from, or you got to try to hope he stays away from, is if Manuel Torres gets in the pocket, he likes to keep his chin up. Chris Duncan will take advantage of that. If not, we might see a highlight reel KO on the side of Manuel Torres. I mean, look, this dude's coming off of like 8 straight finishes, maybe 9 straight. Yeah, 9 straight finishes. The fight has been finished, right? But the point is, a lot of finishes for Manuel Torres. I think this is going to be a fun fight. This could be fight of the night right here, but we like Manuel Torres. The final play is, do we stick with the money line for Torres? Do you like the plus 115 TKO? Is that enough value right there to take a large wager on plus 115?
I don't think it's enough, Derek. I mean, if it's something like 205, 250 in there, then I'm really excited for it because of how dangerous Duncan is. I'm looking at the minus 120 line for the Torres pick.
And then Chris Duncan's only loss in his last 10 fights, right? It has been against Vyacheslav Borshev, right? Shout out. But that's it, man. Durable fighter, good fighter. And when, he gets in these fights, a lot of them are super close. So Manuel Torres plus 800 decision might be something that you guys want to look at, but I'm just going to stick with that minus money for the money line, and we're going to keep it pushing right there. With that being said, that is your Bloody Water podcast breakdown. And now there's only one other thing left to do. We need to talk about the sleepers. So let's get it, AJ.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up. Once again, these are going to be the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. We always have to follow up with the most coveted aspect of this program right here. Because again, these fighters one day are going to be your household names, are going to be your regular UFC vets, and we've already spent all the time letting you know about them because we've been watching them from the beginning of their major aspect of their career. So, AJ, we are bringing up the big screen per usual, and let's start off with the first sleeper, man. You got a banger right here. I'm not going to say any more. I'll let you take it away. What do you got?
Absolute banger on deck, folks. Luis Rodriguez versus Dennis Bondar, man. This is going to be very, very fun. Obviously, Luis Rodriguez, if you've seen his last fight, yeah, he lost to the homie Jerome Rivera, but he's a dog nonetheless, man. This guy can get it done. Big pressure, big power, really good ground game. And Bondar on the other side, man, great striking. Looks to get into the firefight, but he's going to be hungry coming into this fight, man. Both fighters combined 28 finishes in their last or in their entire career. And that's what makes me excited for this one. Both of them are going to be hungry. Both of them are going to be looking to make a big splash right here. And especially for the Bondar side, I see him taking some risks to be able to make that splash.
Fair play right there, AJ. Everything sounds amazing, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to correct yourself right here. Luis Rodriguez, you said he lost to Jerome Rivera. Oh, that was back then. Okay. I thought he was coming off.
I said his last fight, excuse me. I meant his last loss was to the homie Jerome Rivera.
That's right. Shout out to Jerome Rivera, man. Shout out Santa Fe. All right. But that is a banger sleeper right there. So you guys definitely need to take a look. Now, when you want to talk about banger sleepers, I mean, I got one right here for you. Muhammad Naimov versus Eric Silva. Folks, if there's anything you need to know about this, you got a Tajikistan fighter right here, man. And you know these guys are dangerous. I'm just going to say that. But this is the point. Big win over Nathaniel Wood, the prospect right here. I can't say more about that. That speaks levels right there. Knocked out Jamie Malaki, my man, he knocked him out. You hate that. This dude's got a lot of finishes, a lot of submissions, knockouts. This dude, Eric Silva, though, man, you want to talk about a submission threat. The reason I found this matchup, the reason I like this matchup is because one way or the other, one of these dudes is going to sleep, whether it's a submission, whether it's a knockout, it doesn't really matter. I expect them to meet into the middle of the cage and have an absolute barn burner. Unfortunately, don't think that this will have fight of the night status because if you get knocked out or submitted, someone gets a performance bonus. That's where we're headed. If you like violence, you like this fight. And AJ, if I'm not mistaken, there is a coveted spot for this matchup on the card, and it is the first fight of the night, meaning Mexico, 2 non-Mexicans right here. You got a Venezuelan and a Tajikistanian. Violence. That's why you're on the card. Everybody else is damn near Mexican on the card, the headliners at least. So those are your sleepers. Have fun. Thank us later once you saw some fantastic violence. And with that being said, AJ, one thing left to do. We need to jump into the prelims. So let's do it. Let's jump into the prelims, man. So as we've gone through the progression, we've given you a bunch of different picks. We've broken down the card. We've done the whole entire thing. We've asked you to subscribe. We're going to ask one more time. It does tremendous things here to this program. This allows us to get more recognition. So go ahead and subscribe. We're not going to hit you with the whole spiel all over again. AJ, we take a different approach now for the prelims. And the approach that we take is we bring up the big screen. You got a couple of interesting bouts that you would like to talk about. I'd like to talk about them too. So let's do it. Start off from the jump. First off, the disrespect. Hold on, I need to refresh my screen because how dare you do Heoni Barcelos? Look at that. I don't know. They're not showing up the pick. That's unfortunate. All right, let's start there. AJ, Heoni Barcelos is wrapped up in one of your one of the prelims parlays. There we go. Sorry, one of the parlays that we have here. So you know that this is going to be a fun fight. Do you have any words on this, or did you want to elaborate any further about why Heoni Barcelos is in that parlay?
No, I really like Heoni Barcelos for this fight, Derek. I was trying to look up the odds real quick. I'm pretty sure he's plus money right now. Have him as the underdog. But why I like this fight going in forward, man. Heoni Barcelos, he's a legend in the game, and he has all the abilities to shut down what Christian Quinones can actually get done. The worrisome, though, is Christian Quinones is an absolute dog, very, very dangerous kind of style of fighter. But I do think Heoni Barcelos is going to rely on his veteranship, rely on his durability and his ability to be able to put the fight in a promising position for himself. I think I really like Heoni Barcelos in this fight.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun fight. He definitely needs to watch out for the skill set of Quinones, but I've always said it, man. Barcelos is like a dark horse dude in this division who sometimes just doesn't show up the way that we need him to. But that leads us directly down here to another person who's wrapped up in a parlay, man. Listen, I think there's a lot of hype on this dude, Jesus Aguilar. He's coming off of an incredible knockout at flyweight, which you're not seeing a lot. But you want to see a smasher, a destroyer, marauder, right? All the synonyms and all that. It's this guy Mendonça right here, man. This dude is dangerous. This is going to be a fun fight. I'm really interested to see how it's going to turn out. But look at the difference, man. This is a dude who's got a lot of submission threats right here, but that last knockout is all people could talk about. This dude Mendonça across the board, man. We get finishes right here. The show, yep, minus 125 favorite for Mendonça, plus 105 comeback for the dude coming off the knockout. It goes to show this dude's scary. He's dangerous. I like Mendonça right there. Now, without going through that, because I wanted to touch on some of the parlays, just stop me when you see something you want to talk about, man. I already see a couple things I want to talk about.
Oh, I was going to say stop it right here, man. Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Lacerda. We get another rematch, folks, another questionable stoppage in the last one. And what I like most about this one, Lacerda, especially because they didn't give him the fight, right? I mean, it was a no contest, but no contest. Okay, they're not going to say. Either way, man, Lacerda's going to come out with some fire. There's a lot of hype behind Lacerda in this one, but at the same point, Chairez has a lot of hype behind him too, a lot of power. I'm excited to see how it actually squares up in the rematch right here. Do you think we're going to expect the same kind of style of fight, Derek? Pure chaos?
The unfortunate reality is that I think that, and not even unfortunate, Edgar Chairez, I think that he runs away with this one, man. I was at Noche UFC when this fight took place, bro, and a lot of people were really bummed out because it was so inconclusive. We knew Chairez was going to get it done, and it was kind of a slower fight. Normally, Lacerda comes out, fires blazing, whatever, guns blazing. There we go. Something like that, right? I think it's going to be more of the same, which is why if you take a look at there it is. If you take a look at the odds, look at how heavy that is for Chairez, man. So, listen, this dude can get it done. First round, anything can happen with my man, right? Daniel Da Silva, Daniel Lacerda, whatever you want to call him. But I think if this goes longer than the first round, Chairez runs away with it. So it should be a fun one. Interesting one right here, man. Listen, can he submit him? That's the question. Can Puelles submit Ziam? My answer is no. That's why I have Ziam winning. What do you think?
Nah, I'm with you, Derek. I don't think Puelles can actually get this done in submission. I mean, 54% is not bad, but Ziam, man, the smile killer, there's a reason his nickname is that. This guy comes in and he can make the most proficient fighters look like they're struggling, and I really like that about Ziam.
And that's why this dude is going to go far, man. I still feel like there's not a lot of buzz on him, but these French dudes, man, these guys are good. They're very technical. That's the interesting thing that we're developing right here is you see a lot of technical prowess coming out of the French camps, right? Nasruddin Imavov, Perez Ziam, the list goes on, right? But the point is definitely keep an eye out for this matchup. This is going to be a submission threat versus a dude who's going to look to play the game, MMA fight, and get the victory. We already talked. This is not relevant, so let's move past that. Victor Altamirano, Felipe Dos Santos. That's going to be fun. I don't even want to mention that one. He's always an interesting time at flyweight, and I think that's just about it, AJ. So interesting card here at UFC Mexico, but it is what it is, and we've hit the prelims, so we've made it to another outro. Listen, the juice, the squeeze, folks. It was all in the beginning of the program in terms of all the money to be made, but you cannot miss out on that Prelim Pourover. It's important because one, that's where you find the additional plays, the additional over and unders, stuff like that. Number Number 2, that's when you familiarize yourself with the people who are going to be leading the next generation of the main card. Now, AJ, normally we'd just do our outro and we'll get up out of here, but I got one quick question for you, something that I wanted to just kind of discuss really quickly. And I think that every so often, if you've been watching MMA long enough, it happens. We are in a renaissance period right now where all of the tried and true guys, the guys who have been holding it down for 4 or 5 years, long spans, Alexander Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya, Kamaru Usman, the list goes on, just about all the major people, Brandon Moreno, for an example. Do we keep going? It was Ioana and Jacek, right? Like all of the people, right? Gone. Sorry, new generation, baby. This is the UFC Apex generation. All the fighters coming out of post-COVID and all that, right? Now that we're seeing this catalyst, I want you to just kind of talk to me a little bit about what the future of this sport looks like. I feel like it's going to be more competitive now than ever. I don't know if we're going to continue to have these long-reigning champions in this generation that we're in right now. I think we're going to see a lot of hot potato with these championship belts and within the top 10s of these divisions. What do you think?
I agree with you, Derek. Folks, if you want to see the new style or the new wave that's going to take over MMA, go look at your local gym. Go see these kids that are 6, 7, 8 years old and see the style and the skill that they have. They put us to shame at what we were when that age. And I think it's just going to continue, keep going up for the UFC, man. We're going to see highlights after highlights and really very, very technical, but also very exciting fighters. And what I like most about this new era is they all know, yes, the money, the bills get paid with these 1s and 2s, but also I need to entertain. I need to provide something to the crowd, and that's where I think this sport's really, really going to grow forward. We're going to have some very entertaining fights. We're going to have some very entertaining post-fight speeches and probably all the intermingling in between, but I really think the skill set alone in these fighters and the well-roundedness of these fighters coming forward is going to be massively more advanced, however you say that.
Yeah, and bro, more and more, I think we're gonna get away from the traditional styles, man. You know, when it first started, it was jiu-jitsu versus karate versus boxing, and then now it's MMA, you know, Vale Tudo guys coming up. But now you're gonna get more Sean O'Malley's where they're like, all right, what was your first discipline? And instead of saying jiu-jitsu or karate or boxing, they're gonna say it was MMA. That was my first discipline, which blows my mind because look at the resources people have available to them now. It's pretty crazy. So I just wanted to leave with that parting note, folks. That's it for us for this week. Catch us on Monday for the UFC Vegas post show. Until next time, folks. Peace.